Hey, welcome into the Thursday edition. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, brought to you by First Horizon. Big bank muscle, small bank hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keys are here with you. Hope everybody's off to a beautiful start this morning. Hope you enjoyed that wonderful February 80-degree weather yesterday. It was awesome. It'll be fairly nice today. Rexrode, how we doing? What's going on?
Did it really hit 80? Didn't hit 80.
That's what they say. They say it hit 80.
Wow. Well, I was on the hoop court a little bit yesterday, so I did it. And I was like, I am going to be outside in this stuff. So it was great. More to come, I hope, soon.
Very soon. I hope so. Hope we're on the other side of things. Now, if you've lived here long enough, the word false spring comes up and feels like we get this a couple times every year.
Yeah, March.
But hopefully not.
Yeah, I feel like there's always a March week, a few days. So just count on that. And then if we're pleasantly surprised, then it's better than we expected.
That's right. Keezer, how are we doing? What's going on?
Morning, guys. Yeah, doing good. Took advantage of the weather yesterday as well. But yes, it did hit 80 because Kristen told me. So
wow,
she's out there all the time. So
and what did you do to take advantage of the weather?
What did I do?
Yeah,
went for a walk around the apartment and worked out, man.
Well, that's nice.
Fun.
That's real nice.
Yeah,
very nicely done.
Mm-hmm.
Very good stuff. We got a lot to get into on the program today. Predators head coach Andrew Brunette will be with us at 7:30. They're taking on the Jets tonight, who have won 11 games in a row. So, see how that goes. They're on the second half of a back-to-back, though. So we'll see.
It's got to end.
What that looks
like.
Got to
end sometime
tonight. Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports will be with us at 8 o'clock. We'll get into the Titans, all things NFL, and, maybe a media squabble or two with Charles at 8 o'clock. Looking forward to that as well.
Well, did you see his tweet?
No.
Oh yeah, he's having fun with it. He tweeted out the Anchorman, battle royale among like all the different TV newsmen. So yeah,
I'm so mad at you that I can't stand it. Just so mad. You could be there at the NFL Combine right now, reporting live on Jordan Schultz v. Ian Rappaport at the Starbucks trying to take each other out. But instead, here you are.
I mean,
was Kuharski there?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we can ask him. I know Charles wasn't. He's actually hurt, so he's not at the Combine. He's probably regretting it too. Yeah, I mean, I've been to a few Starbucks in that downtown area. Now I need to know which one it was. I need to go to the scene of the crime, go back and I need some video review of the whole
security film
of the reporters screaming at each
What's
other.
The way
whatever exactly happened here.
Was it accosting? Verbal accosting, I think is the way he put it.
I think so. I mean, like to me, for that to rise to the level of like a news story, there better be some serious, like how much verbal accosting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what we do every time Kuharski comes in here.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we talking about here? I need a little bit more than that.
I mean, I will say we're going to get into this a little bit in the 7 o'clock hour because it all kind of stems back to the Tom Brady, Matthew Stafford, I guess, pursuit / recruitment / wooing that Brady is allegedly trying to do, that Rappaport's trying to throw cold water on. We'll get into that in the 7 o'clock hour. I will give Florio credit. He broke. He was the first one I saw last night that had Jordan Schultz going after Ian Rappaport at the Indianapolis Starbucks, yelling at him. And on his tweet, he's got a nice little logo of the Starbucks embedded into the story. It's good stuff.
No,
way to go, Florio.
Did he pick up a sponsor in the midst of reporting on this?
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, the whole story was already something that we were going to talk about.
Yes,
that's very important. The whole thing is important, and it relates to the Titans. And then it turns out, and I got to say, I mean, the funny thing is, you put Schultz's tweet, which was sort of like to me, actually what happened. And then Rappaport with an absolute clown tweet, just another absolute clown tweet by Rappaport saying, hey, agent, oh, you're the next agent who gets to tweet for me today. Here you go. Write some BS that no one in the world will believe. We'll get to that later.
We will. There's a lot to dissect on that front, but I'm looking forward to that discussion later in the show on the Stafford, Brady, situation and the media feud that has now ensued because of it. It's going to be very fun to discuss.
And the Titans, somewhere in there, the Titans' fate may be decided.
It may be. It may be. Some other news from the NFL Combine yesterday, Joe. Abdul Carter, after some medical testing, has a stress reaction in his right foot. And there's some debate as to whether or not that's going to need surgery. So, Drew Rosenhaus, his agent, is out there, talking about how there's mixed opinions of whether or not he needs surgery. He could elect to have the surgery, and the expected recovery time, I believe, would be in the neighborhood of 8 weeks. Or the second option is to not have the surgery, try to work out in front of scouts at the Pro Day on March the 28th, and see where things go from there. Rosenhaus said, either way, we don't expect this to impact where he's drafted. And after visiting with teams this week, I believe he's going to be the number 1 overall pick. Take that with a grain of salt when you're talking about an agent saying all those things. But
especially
your thoughts,
Rosenhaus.
Yeah, especially Rosenhaus. But your thoughts on Abdul Carter and the stress reaction apparently in his right foot?
I don't think it's a huge deal. If in basketball, I've seen basketball careers end because of stress reactions. Stress reactions lead to stress fractures, and that sport, the pounding, on that's just a different deal. Hard floor pounding on the, so that can be, and plenty of basketball players get a stress fracture and then they're fine. Most of them are fine, but I mean that sport makes it where it's a little bit dicey, and it's like some people just can't stop having them. I've never seen that in football. I mean, I think, so to me, like the idea of, I mean, I guess if you can heal, okay, then heal. I mean, I've certainly seen stress reactions not lead to the stress fracture, and you heal over time. It seems almost like, you just have the surgery. But either way, I don't understand why it's so important to work out for team. I mean,
yeah,
I like that position, that player. Yeah, everyone would love to see your measurables and hope that they match up with the film and everything, but the film's a film. I mean, everybody's seen you play football. Again, with him, we've talked about he doesn't have like a lot of production compared to some players at his position who come out in the NFL draft, but also he has dominant film from this past season. And I don't understand why you'd even mess around with working out, especially if you have a stress reaction. You're probably not going to be maxed out. So why does that even help you? So I don't think I saw some reaction to this yesterday. Like, oh boy, the math changes in the draft. I'm like, nah, I don't think it does. I mean, like something like this is not like an ACL, and an ACL is barely it doesn't really, it affects people some in terms of draft placement and things like that at times. I mean, we saw it with Jeff Simmons. He probably would have gone earlier, but I don't think it's a huge deal. And to me, it just seems almost like he just gets surgery.
In other news, I think you can take one quarterback off the board as it relates to potential free agent options for the Titans. Mickey Loomis, who is the GM in New Orleans, said he's excited to have Derek Carr back in the fold next year. Says, quote, I think we feel like we've got a guy that we can win with. Now, that doesn't necessarily, Joe, guarantee that, if something comes up that he won't be released at some point or traded or whatever, but it sounds to me, and based on the comments that Mickey Loomis made, looks like that the plan for the Saints at the moment is to have Derek Carr as their quarterback next season. So take one off the list, apparently, for the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah. It makes sense. It makes sense. It's just, obviously with him, it's just a matter of, you've got a aging middling quarterback. Do you feel like you can get your young one now? I mean, right now, they must not. So I don't see much of a ceiling with him as your quarterback, but that would also be the same if he were to come here. So, I mean, I think it makes sense for them to stick with him. I'm not surprised by it. If that, like you said, it's not official, but it sounds like it.
Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers have begun talks and negotiations for a contract extension. So we talked about that the other day. Probably the most likely outcome of all of this. And we, the Stafford stuff was thrown out there by some people of, could he be a good fit in San Francisco? I think he would be a good fit in San Francisco. I don't think the Rams ever going to let that happen, but looks like they're going to find a way to come to a deal with Brock Purdy. John Lynch, their general manager, did say that he is going to honor the trade request of Deebo Samuel. So it looks like Deebo is going to be out of there at some point this offseason. We'll see what that looks like. But the quote from Lynch was, "We're on good terms with Deebo. He's asked for a fresh start, and I think we're going to honor that." That's what John Lynch said. So apparently the Deebo Samuel era in San Francisco coming to an end.
Yeah, and given where they are, and look, obviously this has to do with what he wants and how things have gone between them and all that stuff. But with the Niners, who again to me are the quintessential "you better do it this year" team, for them to be willing to move on, to me probably doesn't speak too well of what he is right now as a player.
I would agree.
Obviously had a lot of injuries.
615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. We got into the Harold Landry discussion yesterday. The Titans have given him permission to seek a trade. Stilly brought up something on his show that, if true, I think Rexrode may have a problem with. We'll get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, the game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5-106.3 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Just a quick gauge of the text line. A lot of concern about Abdul Carter being injured. Jared from Spring Hill says, well, you can't take Carter with injuries at 1. That's J-Rob-esque. Skyler says, Abdul Carter's got an injury in his foot. The Titans are definitely drafting him number 1 overall, without a doubt. Another texter says, with Abdul Carter having a stress fracture, by the way, not a stress fracture yet, a shoulder issue, do you think it will be wise for Borgonzi to stay away from him, especially with the history of the Titans drafting injured players?
So again,
a lot of concern, Joe.
Yeah. Well, look, like the stress on its own, stress reaction, stress fracture, football player, it's not a big deal. Now, he does have the shoulder. So the question is fair of, okay, is this someone who's just going to be injury prone? And so what's the injury history before all this too? I think that's an important part of it. But like, if we're going to compare this to, Caleb Farley, for example, it just, it's not.
No Skiatika.
It's not, no Skiatika. It's not comparable.
Well, I also, we don't have a whole lot of time to talk about this right now, but just in general, like how often are you going to look at a football player that's played high-level football, for his whole life, all the way up through high school, all the way up through college, and there's like just this clean bill of health with no injury history?
Exactly.
How often does that happen?
Not
very often.
Very rarely. Yeah. So I would say these 2 injuries are pretty typical things, backs, like chronic knee stuff, I mean, so like I know the J-Rob thing, obviously he hit gold with Simmons, got, got value, got higher value.
Yeah.
And then I think he did like get a little bit infatuated with that idea. Farley, terrible idea. Dupree ACL, I don't know. Like, there was all this talk, did he come back too early and all that stuff? I mean, again, ACLs happen all the time too. I don't think that that's necessarily a deterrent. The problem is he just went through a run. So I get why fans now are like, anybody hurt? No. But it's going to be hard to find someone. There are some people who manage to play in this league and just never get hurt. It's amazing, but they're the exception. They're not the norm.
So on the Harold Landry front, we discussed the news yesterday that Harold Landry has been granted permission by the Titans to seek a trade. We'll see what that looks like if anything becomes available on that front. Stillman put it out there yesterday on his show that this is basically just the beginning of the relationship between the Titans and Harold Landry coming to an end. That if there's no trade that's found, that the Titans are going to move on at the end of this. And basically that the Titans, from people that he's talked to, are not all that interested in like finding Harold Landry at a lower number and keeping him around, that they just want to move on from Harold Landry. So we'll see what ends up happening specifically on the Landry front. But when you hear Stilly throw that out there yesterday, Joe, your thoughts on that, and if that's true, what that means for the Tennessee Titans?
Yeah, I was listening to him yesterday. Actually, I almost texted Nick, like, let's grab this and do a Stilly-like thing and grab this before I beat him for like the 11th straight time.
Play the cut!
And Jerry, yeah. Shoo. But he went through not just Landry, but he's going through all the guys they can cut. Landry, Kenneth Murray, Amani Hooker. And it's like, and he's like, he's so excited because then they're going to have, of course, he's like, cash.
Yeah.
We can't call it cap space. It's the cash that they spent last year. He's comparing it. We can't talk about the cap at all.
Did you throw Burks in there?
But regardless, no, he's just talking about the defensive side of the ball. Yeah. Great savings. But so then when I got on with him on another Jerry versus Joe win, I'm like, do you not want anyone back? Like, I get you can upgrade some of these guys, but you don't want anyone back on the defense? I feel like it'd be okay. Look, is Amani Hooker getting paid more than what his value is as a player now? Yeah, you could probably argue that. Harold Landry, I don't think anybody would argue otherwise. Right? So that happens. It happens all the time. But, like, there's no guarantee. The Commanders are and they are a great example of a team that in one offseason, mainly at quarterback, but in other ways, they made some great choices and they made their team better. But there's no guarantee that's going to happen. So I just, Landry in particular, I don't agree with it. I agree with, doing what they're doing right now. Let them, let them try to find a trade. And yes, usually when that happens, when a team announces, we're going to let this guy go find a trade, usually that means that the relationship's coming to an end one way or another. And, they're doing that. Again, the Rams thing is a little different, I think. But I think a pay cut conversation is absolutely worthwhile. Cut Arden Key, fine. You cut some of these guys. I'd keep Hooker and overpay him a little bit. Like it's not the
Somebody's got to play safety.
Yeah, you get excited about a bunch of Plan B cheap free agents, and that's just going to absolutely work because it worked for the Commanders one time. So of course it's going to work for you. Landry in particular, I want him on my football team. I understand he's not as good. He's not worth what his salary is this year. So if he goes out and looks around and kind of sees what the market reality is, and why can't you have that conversation? Why can't he swallow his pride? And again, if he doesn't want that, that's different. But for the Titans' perspective, again, what Jared is saying, I disagree with them if that's how they look at it.
Well, then it becomes, well, what are you doing to fill that hole? Like you could say, well, we're going to draft Abdul Carter. Well, that's great. I talked about it yesterday. I have no problem with you drafting Abdul Carter, provided that you're, cool with the medical stuff.
Yeah.
But I have no problem with you drafting Abdul Carter. You still need somebody else in there. Like I can make that argument now, even with Arden Key and Harold Landry on the team, that you need two guys at that spot. You certainly need to be active in free agency, in the draft, beyond just one guy if Harold Landry is not there. I mean, look, this depends. This is debated, depend on who you talk to. Everybody, I think, universally across the board would agree that the quarterback is the most important position in the NFL. Most people right behind that would say the guy getting after the quarterback is probably number two, like edge rusher, having an elite pass rusher. It's probably right there at number two. If it's not two, it's up there pretty darn high. So, we know that's a need for this team. To me, if Landry looks around and he's not happy with what he sees out there and what the market reality is, as you said, why would the Titans not at least be open to having a conversation after that? That's the part that I don't understand. And look, maybe the Titans number is so low that Harold Landry says, yeah, screw you guys. I'm not doing that. And if that's the case, that's fine. But I don't know how you could just totally close that off right now.
Right. And I'm basing this, if this is true, if what Jared says is true, Jared said a source told him that they're just moving on. They want to move on. Harold Landry at some point, even like in 2026 as your third edge, I'm okay with that, and I think, he has to be realistic about it. And maybe he isn't, but again, so find that out. And it just seems like we're a little early to be, that's it, wash your hands of him. I mean, it's good to have guys who are pros, who are tough, who have won at a high rate in this league, which he has with this team. And I think it's worth looking into. But at this point, I'm going to guess that he's going to be gone. And so, like you said, it's going to have to be a complete remake. Again, you can keep Key around or not.
Yeah.
But he can't be a key guy on any kind of good defense.
Well, I think this entire conversation,
key guy, pun not intended.
Yeah, this entire conversation goes to show you that we've spent so much time over the last couple of years talking about the offense, right, with quarterback and offensive line and wide receiver, and they've still got a ton of work to do there. They got a lot of work to do on defense too, right? Just looking at where they're at right now on that side of the ball, edge rusher's the number one part of this for sure, but safety, they need some help. Corner or either one of those guys going to be healthy at any point throughout the season where they can give you meaningful snaps in actual NFL football games. That's how you end up with the worst record in the league and number one overall pick. You got a lot of holes in your roster.
Yeah. Still, he also wants to cut a woozy, by the way. If they do cut a woozy, I want to remind Stilly, and he's not the only offender here. Remember, Chidobe Awuzie was asked about how to say his name. He said, how do you say it in English? Chidobe Awuzie.
Yeah.
How do you say it in your language? He was like, Awuzie.
Yeah.
So if you're going to say it in English, which you speak, the way you say his name is Chidobe Awuzie. Thank you. Now, if he gets moved, then that doesn't matter anymore. But I'd like us to, as a city, be able to figure that out this year. I mean,
That would be nice.
not have to do a thing where people are still saying Mariota 3 years into his career.
Well, some people are still saying that now.
Well, that's true.
615-737-1025, our phone number. More thoughts to get to on the Landry front. We'll do that coming up next. Plus, the NFLPA report card has come out for the owners around the league. How do the Titans stack up? We'll get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game. Tune in to 94.9 The Fan tonight for Vanderbilt women's basketball as the Commodores take on Texas A&M at Memorial Gym. 6:30 the tip-off, pregame beginning at 6:15. Vanderbilt women's basketball presented by Athletes Unlimited Pro Basketball at Nashville's Municipal Auditorium now through March the 2nd. Go to auprobasketball.com for more details and to purchase tickets. Robby and Rexrode brought to you by First Horizon, Big Bank Muscle, Small Bank Hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get it all. Live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Ty weighing in on our text line says, Landry had 9 sacks coming off an injury-shortened season. Why is he not still worth it? Now, for clarification, it wasn't exactly an injury-shortened season that he was coming off of. Now, the year before, he was coming off the ACL, and he got better in 2023, I think, as the season went along and ended up, I believe, with 10.5 sacks that year coming off of the ACL injury. And now he's followed it up with a 9-sack season since then. Joe, we talked about that yesterday. Like, the sack total in and of itself has not dropped off all that much. He had 12 in 2021, which was his big year, and he got paid after that. And then he tore his ACL right before the 2022 season, missed all of that year, had 10.5 in 2023 and 9 last year. So it's not like the sack total has gone from 12 in 2021 to 4 this year. But I do think if you watched him play and you watched the games last year, he was less effective than we've grown accustomed to him being.
Yeah. And we talked about yesterday, his pressures were down. That wasn't a very good number. Quarterback hits. Again, 9 sacks is good. You can nitpick the sacks, when they happen, how they happened. It's one of those things. It's like, 9 sacks is 9 sacks. But, yeah, he's declined as a player. There's no doubt.
I would also, like, if I'm Harold Landry, I'd say
I had 9 sacks.
I had 9 sacks. And also, like, if you get me anybody out here on this team that can rush the passer, maybe that helps me a little bit. So go do that. That's what I'm saying. If I'm him, do I buy that? I don't know. It kind of felt pretty clear to me that he had lost a step last year. So, like, if the Titans end up moving on from Harold Landry, am I going to freak out about it? No. Like, I get the idea that he's lost his burst. I just think if you can get him for a lower number, I still think he's got some value there. But I don't think we're talking about a guy that's going to come back and next year is going to have 13 sacks for the Titans or anything like that.
No, I just think he can still play. I think he is still a good, worthwhile player to have at a lower price. And so, again, if he's out on that, like, I wouldn't be surprised if Harold Landry's like, no, I'm sick of losing. Let me get a fresh start. Let me just, I'm out of here. This is not the regime I came in under, and it's gone south, and these guys don't value me. Whatever. I get that. From the Titans' perspective, yeah, I think I would try to work it out.
We'll see what happens on that front. We'll see. First off, before we get to the new number part of this, is there any team out there that actually wants to trade for him? And if that happens, then I think it's a pretty easy decision for the Titans at that point. If somebody's going to give you something for him, then sure, knock yourself out.
Yeah, it'll be a little something.
We'll see what happens on that front. The NFLPA team report cards are out, Joe. We've talked about this before on the show. I think like the Chiefs at one point had an F- for like their cheapness, basically, of their ownership group.
Yeah, I think Clark Hunt.
Yeah, which is like
right?
this particular report card is the first time in my life I've heard of an F-. I didn't know an F- was a thing. I thought it was just an F. But apparently F- exists, and there are teams throughout this new NFLPA report card that have F- in certain categories. However, looking at the Tennessee Titans, they go through a bunch of different things here, from treatment of families to your nutritionist to the locker room to the training staff. They do talk about head coach in this. They talk about, the weight room. So there's a lot of different ground that is covered here. But by and large, like, a lot of people call this like the ownership report card, because all of these different categories, to one degree or the other, Joe, fall back in line to the owner. So looking at the Titans, the NFLPA report card, out of the 32 teams, the Titans with their overall ranking, Joe, coming in right smack dab in the middle at number 16 in the NFLPA rankings. And I'll just run through them real quick. Treatment of families, they got a B+. They rank 6th in that. Food and dining, B+, 13th in that. Nutritionist, B+, 9th in that. Locker room, C-, 24th in the league in that. There are some other teams like the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Arizona Cardinals. Players apparently not very happy with locker room there. Training room, B-, 16th in the league for that. Training staff of B, 20th. Weight room, 18th. Strength coaches, 21st. Team travel, 17th. So more talk about the plane. Good stuff. The head coach coming in at an A-. Now, you think A-, and you think that ranked pretty high. That's 19th in the league. So apparently these players think very highly of the coaches.
A lot of these players like their coaches
around the league. And ownership on the whole, a B, which also ranks 19th in the league.
So, yeah, again, so this is NFLPA. This is the players. This is how they perceive things. So, they're not – I don't think they're grading Amy Adams Strunk on, like, her firings and hirings. Right?
I don't think so.
Like, I think it seems like she's always – when she's around, says hi to the guys. I mean, it's funny because the locker room got the worst grade.
Hi, Harold.
The locker room got the worst grade. And she actually – that was
scheduled to make awful lot of money next year, Harold.
She actually, put a lot of money in that not that long ago, and everybody was like excited about it. And I don't know. I feel like it's for the NFL. I mean, again, you compare NFL locker rooms to college locker rooms. It's not close. College locker rooms blow them away. Like college facilities are, because it's built into player acquisition, or at least it more used to be. I think that is changing now, but. The head coach thing is interesting, A-, and I think Vrabel did not get a great grade, if I'm not mistaken, last year. So, of course, when you lose and then like you said, it's 19, so it's not like it's like top of the league, but still A- is good, right?
Yeah.
So then you get into, so he's too nice to the players, right? Is that, right? I mean, like that's something that naturally comes to mind, fair or not. It's like, yeah, he's a really nice guy. He's great. We like him. And, And what was your record last year?
I mean,
is there a correlation? I don't know.
The only thing on this entire list that comes in, kind of below average is the locker room. It's a C- for the locker room. Everything else is a B- or better.
I mean, treatment of families, that's nice. That's good. 6 treatment of families, 6 in the league. That's good. But, yeah, I mean, most of this, what does it really tell you? I want to
say the treatment of families either last year or the year before was the one
good.
was not very good for the Titans.
Yeah, so I guess Vrabel was mean to the kids, scared the kids. Ran them off the practice field. Yeah, so.
You got daycare during home games for the families, according to this poll. Titans provide daycare during home games.
Is that a new thing?
They're one of 10 teams that do not provide a family room during home games, but they do provide the daycare.
Interesting.
Players feel the team frequently organizes family events, which ranks 8th out of 32 teams.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. Well, that's good. I mean,
I found it. They pointed out in the article, the grade in this category improved from a D+ last year to a B+ this year.
That's the family one.
Correct.
Wow. Vrabel hates kids. Headline, Vrabel hates families. Callahan loves them.
Be interested to see how the New England Patriots rate in their treatment of families next year.
Yeah, all of a sudden, yeah. It's like, don't tell Vrabel.
Vrabel walks in the room. It's just, hey, guys, I don't want to see any one of your wives or children around here. Thank you. We play football here.
Don't tell Vrabel we have children, okay? He's mean to the kids.
I mean, it's funny that that's the case because like I recall,
Vrabel's actually really good.
Yeah, he's really good with kids,
yeah.
And like when Derrick Henry's kids like running around here all the time, and like everybody's kids running around here. So I don't know.
Absolutely, Vrabel loves that stuff. I don't know, man. I mean, I would like to know what goes in that. Maybe there's just some stuff they've added to make them more comfortable. I know that in training camp they sort of have their special little tent over there.
Amy Adams Strunk read the NFLPA poll last year. It's like, hey, get some daycare. We need daycare for the home games.
See, everybody's all focused on like GM, coach. She's focused on the important stuff,
I like it. So if you're a Titans fan, I guess, like you read through this overall report card, and even though on the field the product has not been very good, right smack dab in the middle of the NFL in terms of the overall ranking of the players kind of view the operation around here. So there you go.
For whatever that is worth.
I don't know what it's worth, but that's what it is.
I mean, the coach one is the one that it's like an obvious like, oh, so you like him too much? He's too nice? Maybe Brian Callahan needs to be a little bit more of a jerk this year, which Vrabel could help with, by the way.
615-737-1025, our phone number. We'll have the best and worst things in sports coming up next. We'll take your best things, your worst things on our text line. We'll get into some media beef and a weird Brady Stafford report in the 7 o'clock hour that's causing a lot of problems, apparently. We'll get into all that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game.
The best and worst of the sports week. Now on Robby and Rexrode.
On ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is the worst. You look like you're feeling sorry for yourself. You believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
He's one of one. He is him.
This is a Coke bottle. It's not a crystal ball.
When I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
Okay, let's go.
It is time for the best and worst things in sports for this week. We'll take your best things, your worst things on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Rexrode, kick us off with your best and worst things in the world of sports.
I got a texter here who's thinking a lot like I'm thinking. I'll read the text. Best thing, Mark Byington's worked this year. He had his worst thing was the officiating last night in Vandy A&M. There was some bad calls for sure. And by the way, the game took almost 3 freaking hours. But Vanderbilt won at Texas A&M, which means if Vanderbilt has 3 top 15 wins this year, A&M, Tennessee, Kentucky, Vanderbilt's going to be in the NCAA tournament, folks. And that is my best thing in sports. Picked 16th in the league. Never would have guessed this. And, you know, National Coach of the Year, SEC Coach of the Year, Dennis Gates of Missouri, Mark Byington of Vanderbilt. I think Bruce Pearl has got to be there too. Pretty amazing stuff. So it's awesome for Vanderbilt fans. Memorial Magic is back. Both of those teams are going to be playing the NCAA tournament. That's an easy best in sports. My worst in sports, the NFL Combine freaking sucks. Has anybody else noticed? What has happened in the Combine? I know that we got some running and lifting to come. What has happened this week?
People are almost fighting each other in a Starbucks. We're going to talk about it here in a minute.
Exactly. The most important thing is 2 dorks fighting each other at a Starbucks, yelling at each other. Great. What an absolute waste of everyone's time. But, hey, I hope y'all enjoyed it.
And terrible dessert, too.
I mean, at least PK's getting hammered up there.
PK had some bad dessert.
Some brews.
Some jelly that apparently resembled tomato sauce.
Maybe he was just hallucinating.
Well, maybe so. I wonder if he was out again last night. Did he go 2 nights in a row of just pulling the all-nighter?
I smoke weed constantly.
That drop never gets old.
That is the best drop, I think.
I think it is.
That's the best drop.
It's good stuff. Keys are your best and worst things in the world of sports.
Surprisingly, I too was going to go Vandy, but I'm going to shift it. Luka Doncic, how about the absolute greatest retribution he could possibly have this week? And I think I'll have to send this photo to you guys, but it says early contender for photo of the year. It's just him absolutely staring down his old GM. I love it. Oh, yeah. I love it. So, but that has been a fun storyline. I've enjoyed seeing what that is. I'm not a Lakers fan, but I have enjoyed that. My worst in sports, where in the world does anybody have the gall to talk about Rob Gronkowski coming back to the NFL? I don't understand.
I missed that one.
Yeah. So Jordan Schultz's response.
Jordan Schultz again.
Well, he didn't report this nonsense, but he did say, hey, this is ridiculous. I'm going to look into it. So he found Rob, and Rob Gronkowski is quoted telling him, crazy, bro. They must know something about me that I don't. I still wish I had those powers because that would be cool if I did, but I was just in Australia for a few days. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Some
there.
Random person in Denver threw it out there that Gronkowski was like,
it was a radio host. And,
thinking about coming back to the NFL. And apparently Gronkowski has since shut that down.
I hope he does come back to the NFL. I can't stand his freaking commercials, dude. Like, I need him off my TV. I don't want him on analysis. I mean, he's a nice guy, but like, dude, he doesn't bring anything.
You will not find a bigger combo hater of Brady Gronk than Joe Rexrode.
Do you disagree with me?
Discovered.
Do you disagree with me?
No, I can't say that I do. And I'll throw one more at you. I don't love him on Fox either.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want him on my TV.
It's just not good stuff. My best thing in sports.
Guys, I'm Gronk.
That kind of sounded like Goofy. My best thing in sports, the Kachuk brothers, specifically Matthew, being on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, and then both of them went on the Travis Kelce, Jason Kelce New Heights podcast, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
Now, Matthew specifically is catching a lot of crap for going and doing all this stuff because he's hurt right now. I'm like, okay, what do you guys want him to do? Sit in the condo down there? Like he's got an injury. It's going to be a while before he's back to playing again.
Do you have to do pull-ups while you're doing a podcast?
I've been clamoring for my entire life for high-level NHL players to have some sort of personality. You know, PK Subban had some. But by and large, like it's few and far between. Like, look, I love Sidney Crosby. Sidney Crosby is a consummate pro. When he's done, he's probably going to be at worst a top 5 player in the history of the game. He handles everything the right way. I know he's not very popular around here, and I understand why, but like he's a good representative of the game. Same thing, Connor McDavid, right? Like Connor McDavid, good guy, good representative of the game. Both those guys could not be more boring. Okay. So when there's guys in the National Hockey League that are high level players that have a little bit of personality to them and they go out and display that and help grow the game, I'm cool with it. I don't care if Matthew Tkachuk's doing the Tonight Show when he's hurt and can't play for Florida. That's me. That's my best thing in sports. My worst thing in sports, I'm worried about Roman Josi. Yosi's still day to day. We'll see what ends up happening. Look, I'm hoping that, I roll over to the morning skate after all this and he's on the ice this morning and he's ready to play tonight. I don't anticipate that's probably what's going to happen. Brunette was talking yesterday about, when you get into these type of things, it can be day to day. It can be week to week. Sometimes it could be season ending. And he didn't come out and like outright say what it was. But when you start talking about that and him still being evaluated, I think you know what it is. Probably some concern for a concussion there. So
exactly.
That's not Yossi's first. It's not his second. I don't think it's his third. He's had a few. So worried about that.
Yeah, that's a good worst. Ed has his worst. The overreaction to Elijah Molden getting an extension. He was very good last year. Got an extension. Ed says, come on, folks. We were second in yards allowed, and he's not Ed Reed. He's definitely not Ed Reed. It was a mistake, I would say. It would have been good to have that depth, and he was, he obviously found a new level. I always thought he could be a good player, but remember, he was hurt all the time here. You talk about a guy who had injury stuff. So you have to keep that in mind. Ed, the second in yards allowed, come on, Ed. Ed, you watched the Titans play defense last year. Those yards were given up by your kicking game and quarterback. I mean, let's be realistic about the defense. It was
bad.
Sub-average.
Yeah, it was bad. Stilly has texted me. He says his worst thing in sports is Abdul Carter's foot injury. The worst thing.
Oh, is that
Stilly?
Is that just an absolute World War III for Stilly? He's got a foot injury.
I just opened my X app, and Stilly's latest tweet 33 minutes ago says the one thing that scared Floyd Reese the most with defensive players, foot injuries. It ruined Javon Curse's career. So there you go.
Remind me, do you remember what Curse said? Did he have stuff like that? Stress fractures?
I think was it a stress fracture? Honestly, I don't remember.
There's a lot of different kinds of foot injuries. Stress fractures is not really a football chronic issue. People get them. Again, if you're a basketball player, it's a different deal. I don't think this is that big of a deal. Cam says his best is the SEC is going to break the record for teams in the NCAA tournament. By the way, right now I would say it's at 14. The record is 11.
So they're going to annihilate the record.
They're not, but I don't think they're going to get all 14. I don't, but I think that they're going to get 12 for sure. So there you go. This is a great worst from Alex. I can't believe this is true. The Mavs are not allowing fans to wear Luka jerseys to games.
Is that real?
Is that real?
I think that was fake.
Okay, please tell me that that's fake.
I'm pretty sure that was fake.
Okay.
First off,
how could you
are you going to
enforce that? And what an
with like
absurd idea.
10,000 people show up, you're like, hey, you guys got to go home.
Right.
Take your jersey off. I'm pretty sure that's fake. Yeah. But if it's not,
okay.
Because
I haven't seen that report. I'm like, if that's actually, because I saw someone else texted a few days ago about that. I'm like, what? And then I forgot about it.
I think there was a Twitter account that put that out there that has since been like excommunicated from X. That is.
Oh, well,
yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
I think.
But still, he's still on there, huh?
Yeah. You might have to unmute him.
Yeah. Or not.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get into the apparent Starbucks drama in Indianapolis between Jordan Schultz and Ian Rappaport coming up next. And what stems from is the Brady and Stafford potential tampering that's going on. We'll get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, brought to you by First Horizon, Big Bank Muscle, Small Bank Hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Thursday morning. Predators head coach Andrew Brunette will be with us later this hour at 7:30. Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports will be with us at 8 o'clock. And I'm sure we'll get into this with Charles, Joe. But it's an interesting day at the NFL Combine yesterday. So let's just quickly run through the timeline here. So Jordan Schultz, NFL insider, friend of the show, by the way, Jordan Schultz, Fox Sports NFL insider, put this out there yesterday as it relates to the pursuit of Matthew Stafford. Said sources, Raiders minority owner Tom Brady recently hosted Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford at his home in Montana, where they spent time together and went skiing. Brady has been actively trying to convince Stafford to join the Raiders, and the discussions are ongoing. Several teams are interested in Stafford if the Rams decide to move him, with Las Vegas believed to be the most aggressive suitor. So that is what Schultz put out there yesterday, that Brady hosted Stafford at his Montana home. The two were hanging out together. They went skiing, and that was the report for Schultz that got things started yesterday.
In the state of Montana, let's remember.
Montana.
In the state of Montana. Matthew Stafford, who is from Texas, went to college in Georgia, plays in Los Angeles.
Correct.
He was in the state of Montana.
He was in Montana.
So it sounds like he was in the state of Montana by design, intentionally, going to hang out with someone at their place.
It does sound like that.
That's what happened. We can all agree, right? Like that's pretty hard to – it would be pretty hard to try to walk that one back after that was reported, right?
Now, Ian Rappaport threw it out there shortly after that, says Raiders minority owner Tom Brady and Matthew Stafford ran into each other at a ski resort in Montana, sources say. The meeting, unplanned, was not extensive or in-depth and did not include Brady, quote, hosting or recruiting Stafford, despite reports saying otherwise. That was the tweet that Ian Rappaport threw out there later in the day, kind of disputing what Jordan Schultz threw out there. Now, there was also another tweet that Tom Pelissero put out there and said, reach for comment about an internet rumor that Tom Brady hosted Matthew Stafford on a recruiting visit in Montana. Brady's longtime agent, Don Yee, told me, quote, I know that reporters sometimes make mistakes in their haste, but this story's inaccurate. This from Tom Brady's agent.
Well, then that settles it. Whoa, Tom, Matt. Oh, dude, what are you doing here? I ski here too at the exact same day you ski. Should we go sit down and have a lunch?
And by the way, Rappaport later quote tweeted that tweet from Pelissero and said, Tom Brady and Matthew Stafford, like many other high-profile people, both own houses in the same ski community. So there's the backdrop for all this, Brady Stafford stuff. And we're going to get into that specifically here in just a few minutes. Apparently, this led to a confrontation yesterday at the Starbucks in Indianapolis.
There is more than one at a Starbucks.
At a Starbucks in Indianapolis. So Mike Florio put this out there on Pro Football Talk, and it was thrown out by a lot of other people after that. So I guess Ian Rappaport was sitting down with an agent at the Starbucks.
Hey, would you tweet for me? There you go. Here's my phone. Tweet for me.
Apparently, Jordan Schultz walked up to him and was basically like, hey, man, we need to talk, or as Florio says, or specific words to that effect. And Rappaport replied, we're told, quote, we don't need to talk. Schultz then made accusations about Rappaport. Rappaport were told the accusations were unfounded, to which Schultz's final response was, if you have anything to say to me, say it to my effing face. If this continues, we're going to have an effing problem. Rappaport then asked Schultz to step back. If it happens again, we're going to have an effing problem, Schultz said, and now I'll step back. So Florio put it out there that there was a verbal accosting that took place at one of the Indianapolis Starbucks.
So they screamed some F-bombs at each other a little bit?
Yeah. But apparently now NFL security is looking into it.
I mean, when Keyser, like the coffee runs out, I yell at I scream F-bombs at Keyser. Who cares?
Yeah.
When is Cromwell Media going to look into that?
Rappaport told a witness that NFL security was informed of the exchange, because it was regarded as a threat of physical violence. So there you go.
So I've never met Jordan Schultz in person.
We've had him on the show.
I have, I have Rappaport. There's probably very few media dorks who couldn't kick Rappaport's ass. Okay. And I mean, like it would be a small, like Kaharski Rappaport would actually be like a pretty good, bantamweight, little flyweight type deal.
Hey, Ian.
I mean, this is look, man, this is such a great example. Rappaport's on a roll here of just making himself look like a complete goober. He is on a roll, and I'll quickly get into, and I understand, like, if Kaharski heard that, you stand up for your coworker, but Diana Rossini had the report about the meeting with Aaron Rodgers. Look, Diana Rossini is sourced in the league. She's sourced like crazy with the Jets. She's broken a lot of news with the Jets, and all stuff that has not been refuted. Rappaport tried to refute that report by saying that's not why they got rid of, he basically dismissed, that's not why they didn't talk about, that's not why they got rid of Aaron Rodgers. She never said they did.
No.
She never said that's why they did. I mean, we read it. It was very, very specifically didn't say that, but that they had the conversation. So he tried to throw cold water on that, which was garbage. He's got this. What was the tweet we read earlier this week? I mean, just incredible. Shadur's film will speak loudly.
Yeah.
Just, you can't be this transparent about being a complete suck up to your sources. I mean, I you have to have some integrity.
You would think.
No one in the world believes that Matthew Stafford and Tom. Oh, holy cow! What? You go on the Diamond Hill too? So do I. Let's go down together. It's a joke, and it's just but these agents, they run the damn world, and they run people like Ian Rappaport.
My first reaction when I saw this whole thing, and this was before the Starbucks altercation, but I saw this, and my first reaction was, wait a minute. Stafford's allowed to ski? Isn't that prohibited in his contract?
That's a good point too.
Is he allowed to do that? Is he allowed to go skiing? If he gets hurt skiing,
Bunny Hill only?
Yeah.
That's a good. That is a good point.
It was very interesting. So there's kind of the backdrop of what is going on between Ian Rappaport and Jordan Schultz. In the meantime, what do we make of that report? Whether they met on purpose or I guess accidentally in Montana, of Brady and Stafford. We'll get into that coming up next and what that could mean on the quarterback front for Matt Stafford and how that could affect the Tennessee Titans. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Come get a taste.
Rick, where'd you get a hand grenade?
I don't know.
All right. Let's do this.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Nice job by Keys there. I mean, it did, and Charles tweeted this yesterday, Joe. It did kind of remind him of the Anchorman feud with the news crews.
Look forward to talking to Charles.
I do too.
By the way, still he's getting all over me. Still he's getting all over me about the combine. What's happened at the combine? The top pick has a stress fracture dip. Bleep. I'd say that's news. Yes, Jared. We did find out about an injury this week. Good point. The combine rules, man.
Hey, Shadour's not throwing at the combine, so something's not happening at the combine. There you go.
Has Stilly addressed? I meant to bring this up on my latest win over him and Jerry versus Joe. Has he addressed the fact that Sam Darnold, who was not going to be the top pick, who could have tried to fight to be the top pick, chose to not throw?
I've not heard it.
Okay, I want to know what
Doesn't mean he
Stilly's
hasn't done
thoughts,
it, but I haven't heard it.
because it's just an absolute big, huge deal that Shadur Sanders isn't throwing at the combine. Just get out there and compete.
So, what do you make of the idea of Stafford and Brady running into each other, planned or otherwise, in Montana, and what that could mean?
Hey!
Oh my goodness, Tom, is that you? Wow.
Was there a Starbucks up there? Maybe
Crazy
that was
to
a
see you here.
Starbucks too.
What do you make
Holy
of
bleep and bleep.
that idea of the Raiders aggressively pursuing Matthew Stafford, according to Jordan Schultz?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. And so obviously this does relate to the Titans, right? This whole thing does. The Giants, it's believed. So this was on the podcast, Tyler Dunn's podcast. Go Long. Great guy, does a great job. We should have Tyler on the show sometime. He writes 8,000 word stories. It's called golong.com. Like that's what they do. He goes long in these stories. He's covering the league for a long time, but he had Stapleton on, Giants Art Stapleton, I believe, Arthur, Giants beat writer, USA Today Network, and basically, it very, very plugged in. And to quickly summarize what he believes is that, that the Giants are all in on Stafford, and so it looks like Giants Raiders were both very interested. Unfortunately, Giants, Brian Daboll, you better get yourself a Montana ski resort. That's what I'm saying. But if the Giants, he believes if the Giants do not get Stafford, then the Giants are going to trade. They're going to go after Cam Ward. They're going to give the Titans what they want. For number one, the Titans can fall back to 3, which to me is the ideal scenario, because at 3, you can get that guarantees that you're going to get one of these two guys, basically. I mean, that's what it does. Not basically, it does officially guarantee they're moving up to get Cam Ward, that you're going to get one of these two guys. Maybe the Browns do take Abdul Carter. There is some talk of that, but you're going to get one of those two guys. So basically, Titans fandom, whatever the situation happened in Montana, go Brady.
Get it done, Tom. Bring him into the now. Look, outside of the obvious of, look, I understand you being a quarterback and meeting with Tom Brady and all that stuff. I do look at the Raiders roster right now, and I'm like, okay, so like, what who are you throwing the ball to? If you're Matthew Stafford there, you got Brock Bowers. That's great. But like, the receivers need some work. They do have cap space. They do have the ability to draft people, so I know that they can add to that this offseason. I don't know. Are the Raiders really an appealing destination for a Matthew Stafford? And to that point, are the New York Giants an appealing destination to Matthew Stafford? Meanwhile, apparently you've got like Aaron Rodgers out there just floating in the wind. It's like, please, Giants, hello,
yeah.
Hello.
He's like, hey guys, I'm here in New York. What do you think? I mean, New Jersey. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers looking increasingly desperate. Future Titan, but
has he been to Montana?
I don't know. They've got caves up there, I think. Yeah, so
Probably a lot of them.
Yeah, I would think so. This is a the Raiders saying I wonder how much like cachet like they're like is Brady actually like is there some cachet with that? Is there some belief that Tom Brady's involvement means like they're gonna have their crap together? They haven't had it together for a while.
I mean,
I don't know. I mean, he could be terrible at personnel.
He could be. I don't know. Like, I think from a player perspective, it probably helps, right? Like, if you're Stafford or a quarterback or like any guy, like all these guys playing right now, either played with, against, or grew up watching Tom Brady. So there is some cachet that he's got that's gonna go. He's gonna be able to connect with some of these guys. Now, having said that, weren't the reports out there that he was all in on Ben Johnson and met with Ben Johnson, and Ben Johnson didn't go there? So, like, it's not like it's like some irresistible thing that he's got going on out there. And this goes back to what you're talking about. You got all this going on, and he's calling games. he's calling games.
Not all that well.
Yeah.
It's a perma-rant. It's like, this is the most popular sports league by far. They run the world. And you are forcing on your consumers because a guy was great. We all would like to watch him play football. You're forcing him on us. And while it's a totally inappropriate situation, there's no way that this is not a conflict of interest.
But by the way, like, this is also a situation, Ian Rappaport can say whatever he wants, but this also is a situation, Joe, where you look back at Brady's playing history and you're like, all right, well, Deflategate, Patriots are caught up in all these different things of cheating scandals, and we're just supposed to believe that Tom Brady was like, hey, fancy seeing you here in Montana, bud. How's it going?
Whoa, it's Matthew. Dude, are you kidding me? Come over here, man. Yeah, it's and again, like, when it comes down to it, Titans fans, hey, whatever works. Whatever works. Because, I think the Giants, you got the brother-in-law angle there. So we've talked about that, the speculation. And, the Giants, if Stapleton is correct, then, the Titans have got to be rooting hard for, anyone but the Giants.
Correct.
But so still could be the Rams too. I don't know how the Rams look at this whole thing.
I don't either.
Like, do they love Darnold? Do they love a draftee? I don't know.
Yeah, like, and then if you're Stafford, like, let's just assume that the meeting with Brady was not them just running into each other at the ski lodge up there, and that this is some level of intentional. Like, what did Brady say? How seriously would you consider going to the Raiders? Because I have to think, even from his standpoint, like, he's got to look at it right now and say, all right, I've made a lot of money. Of course you want to make more, but you also want to win. So, like, how close are the Raiders, even with him, to winning? How close are the Giants, even with him, to winning? I don't know what the answer to that is. You could ask the same question, I guess, for the Rams, but the Rams have some good young players coming up. Yeah. I know that Cooper Kupp's going to be gone. But, like, it still feels like Rams is by far his best option here if he wants to win.
Yeah, he thinks especially his family, the Stafford family, thinks he's getting screwed over, and I don't necessarily disagree.
Yeah,
but yeah, the best case scenario, I think probably if he had his druthers, it'd be pay me. Let's keep going here. We almost beat the Eagles on the road last year in the playoffs, beat the Vikings in the playoffs.
And also, like, where's Pittsburgh and all this? Like, if Stafford's available, if I'm Pittsburgh, I'm trying like mad to get him in there.
Get in there, Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt, Mike Tomlin. I didn't know you go to this beach. What? By the way, Texter says NBC Sports reports that the altercation was the J.W. Marriott. Oh, I know that one well. The J.W. Marriott Starbucks. And also, yeah, so Schultz is the son of former Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz. You have like a all the time free card.
You can't kick him out.
Don't get into an F-bomb thing with him in a Starbucks. You could get all the free Starbucks you want if you're not a jerk to him.
It's his home turf.
Jeez.
NFL Combine updates all this week on 102.5, 106.3 The Game, brought to you by the New Cumberland and Boom Boss Pizza. New Cumberland, Nashville's resort-style community overlooking downtown on the Cumberland River. And Boom Boss, go try their award-winning pizzas. I love them. Their locations in East Nashville, Spring Hill, and Murfreesboro. Boom Boss Pizza and Watch Bar. Eat, drink, and watch. Andrew Burnett will be with us coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.